Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Today, another DataBridge webinar. And we're going to talk today about processing forms and emails. And you probably see a new face. Normally, well, usually, Pierre is here with me together, but Pierre couldn't make it today. So I brought Kevin. Morning, Kevin.
Good morning.
Kevin is one of the developers for DataBridge, so I think he's one of the right guys to join today, so he can also maybe answer some questions or gather some feedback. Let's wait until the last participants come in. It's already 9:01, but let's wait for a few seconds more. So, Kevin, what did you think of using the new UI in SuperOffice?
Oh, this one is way better. It's way faster than before. The new calendar works better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's just better.
Definitely. Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm also happy with how it looks and the speed especially of the calendar, the task list, etc. Yeah, I really like it's more modern.
Yeah.
So Kevin, can you confirm that I'm sharing my screen?
Yes, you're sharing screen.
Good. Then let's start. I still see people coming in, but Kevin, if they are in the lobby, then you let them in, right?
Yes, I will.
Good. So let's kick this off. What are we going to do today? Again, we're going to look at how DataBridge processes forms and emails. And at first, we're going to look at some scenarios. Then what can we do with the data? We're going to dive into a simple scenario so that I can explain to you how to configure this in DataBridge. I'm doing this, by the way, with screenshots because going through every step in DataBridge would be quite boring to look at. So I'm just using some screenshots there. And this is also a good moment to tell you that the video of this, the recording of this webinar will be available later on our YouTube channels. Then after this scenario that we're going to do, we're going to look at some, let's say, more advanced or complex scenarios. And of course, we'll do questions and answers at the end of the session. If you have a question during the session, write them in the chat. And then at the end of the session, we'll make sure that every question is answered properly. Let's go. So what type of emails do we send out and what kind of emails do we receive for use in SuperOffice? I've put a few examples in some slides, and one of the examples we're going to process later on. The first one, very simple, is if you have a CMS, a website, and a contact form, people can leave their name, their email, their phone number, and of course their question or their message. And this is one of the examples that DataBridge can handle. DataBridge can fetch the details from this email and do something with it in CRM. And we'll come back to that later. Another example of an email that can be received by DataBridge is, for instance, a webinar sign-up. This is one of the examples that we from the webinar software that we used to use in the past. It's called Click Meeting. It sends out emails with a confirmation of the registration, and the details in there we can use to store in SuperOffice. And this is, I think, the most common example. It's an email with an invoice. The invoices are sent out from your accounting platform. It's sent out to your customer. In the email, there are some details about the account number, the invoice number, etc. But also, as an attachment, there is the invoice itself, the PDF in this case. But there's more. There's all kinds of business software that can send out emails. There's websites, e-commerce platforms, e-learning platforms. There's a lot of forms applications. Think about Google Forms, for instance. There's webinar and event booking software, marketing and consent, partner portals. Again, the accounting example that we just had with the invoice, ERP, and product configuration. And this is not even the whole list. And all what they all can do is they can all send out emails. They can send out emails directly to your contact, like an order confirmation or an invoice. And they are also able to send emails to you directly. For instance, a form result. I was talking about Google Forms, for instance. If someone fills in a Google Forms a template, you will get the results in email. And the trick is, of course, to get these emails that are sent out to you or to your contacts, to get that to be able to read by DataBridge. So DataBridge reads and processes these emails, and all you need is a dedicated mailbox that you give DataBridge access to, and that receives all these emails. It could be a BCC sent to this dedicated mailbox, for instance, for this email with an invoice. So the invoice will go directly to your customer, but in the BCC you will get you'll make sure that the BCC address is filled with your dedicated DataBridge mailbox. And you can use one mailbox for multiple integrations in DataBridge, because the emails are designated by reading the subject. So every different subject, or starts with some string in the subject, you can use different integrations for that in DataBridge. So that's all what you need, a dedicated mailbox. And what DataBridge then can do is it will look in the email. It will look at some fields that are in the email or some values that are in the email. And it doesn't matter where it is in the email. DataBridge will be able to pick those values up and use them. In this case, as I've highlighted here already, you could use the account number or the name, the first name and last name of the receiver of the email. Or you can get the invoice number from the attachment, from the file name, for instance. But also the subject and the date and the to field from the email. That's also something that DataBridge is able to read. And such an email is treated as one record of data. That's how you need to look at it. If I compare this to an Excel document that we can use as a source to import into DataBridge, what you would see, what the email would give you is just one record. So every detail in the email can be treated as one record in, if you compare it to an Excel sheet, a source document. So from now on, there are two types of source emails supported by DataBridge. There's this email with a source file attached, like an Excel sheet with lots of records. And there's this email with details in the subject, the body, and the attachments. On the left side, an example of an email with an Excel sheet as a source file. On the right side, there's the email that we just showed with the invoice attached to it. The email with the source file attached is treated by DataBridge as one or more records. The email with the invoice is treated as one record. There's one scenario where this is not fully true, but we'll come back to that later. But always look at it as one record only. So what are we able to do with those emails and that data? When we look at the contact form example that we just showed, one of the things you could do with this, and this is just an example, is create or update a contact in SuperOffice and create a request. DataBridge can handle both. So once this email has been processed, you would have a new contact or an updated contact in SuperOffice, plus a request with the message in there, linked, of course, to this contact. The webinar sign up. What's, for instance, an example what we could do with this webinar sign up and the data that is in this email? We could create or update a contact. We could create a project or update a project, and also create a project member, so that you have at the end of when every webinar sign up email is processed, you have one project with all the project members linked to that project of everyone that signed up for this webinar. And for the invoice, what could we do there? Let's look at the more complex situation here. We could create a sale, assuming that the company already exists in SuperOffice. We could create a sale. We could create a stakeholder. So that's the participant that is linked to the sale. And we could create a document. The document could be the invoice. And we could link that, of course, to the sale also. We could link it to the company and the sale. All with the data and the details that's in this email. So now let's look at how to set this up. It's a very simple example that we're going to do, and we're going to take a look at the invoice email again. And what we're going to do is not the complex example that we just handled, but we're going to keep it simple for this setup. We're going to create a document which will be linked to the company that's already in SuperOffice. So how are we going to start? We're going to start by logging into DataBridge, and on the home page of the DataBridge, you will see all your integrations. And in the left upper corner, there's this Start a New Integration button. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start a brand new integration. The integration, the details page of the integration, that's where we put in the name. But more important for this example, this is where we connect to our dedicated email inbox. What I have done is, for this purpose, I have created a free Outlook.com inbox. I just found out a name to use for this, DataBridge-demo, and this is the inbox where all my emails, including the one for my example, the invoice email, is sent to. The invoice, of course, will go directly to my customer, but I made sure that in my accounting platform that every email gets a BCC address that's called databridge-demo@outlook.com. And of course, the target is SuperOffice CRM Online in this case. Then let's go to the next step. This is the source page. And in the source page, we're gonna need some details from the email. So let's use the white space that we have on the right side to just show our email that we are going to import, just to make it clear what we're going to do there. This is a very important part here. This is how DataBridge will look for new emails in your inbox, in your dedicated inbox, and knows which emails to handle in this integration. Now, in this case, the first part of my subject is always a static value. That's not dynamic. The dynamic part is only when it comes to the invoice number. So up to the invoice number, the part that's called Philips Electronics new invoice, that's static. So I'm going to use that to verify if the email that's in the inbox needs to be treated by this integration in DataBridge. Then the source file, the type is not attachment, but it's email. Remember, we have now two sorts of emails that can be treated by, can be processed by DataBridge. We have the email with an attachment as which is treated as a source file, the attachment. Then I would select attachment here. But when I want to use the details from the email itself, so from the body and the subject, etc., then I'll choose for source file type email. Once I've set this, I hit the fetch button, and then it will go into the inbox, and it will see if there's at least one email that matches my subject. When the fetch succeeded, on the bottom of the page here, in the preview section, you'll see all the details coming from my email. Let's continue to the data page, and I'll leave the email on the right side just to verify that what you see on the right side, on the left side in DataBridge, that the values match. So when I proceed to the data page, what I will first do is go through every column that I already get from my email, the default columns like the name, the from address, the to name, the to address, etc. And I'll see what kind of columns that I can already use to link up to the SuperOffice fields, to do the field mapping, to see what kind of columns do I already have that I can use while mapping the fields to SuperOffice. What I already can do is use the subject from the email and make sure that the subject of the document that I get in SuperOffice, that I will create in SuperOffice, will have the same subject. Of course, you can do other stuff with the subject too. We'll come back to that later. But for this simple example, I'll just make sure that the subject from the email is also used as the subject of the document in SuperOffice. So I mapped the document subject to this column. What I also will do is map the date. So the document date will be mapped to the date coming from my email. What I will also do is make sure that the attachment file name is mapped to the file path field in SuperOffice. That's the document file path. This way, I'm going to make clear to DataBridge that I want to use the attachment in my email and store that file in SuperOffice. But this is not all. So these are the columns that we get already from the email. Once I fetch the email, these are the columns that I get and that I can use and map. But there's more. What I will also need is the account number. And the account number is not a field that you get as an isolated field from the email. This is where the interesting stuff comes in. So now I need to use transformations to make sure that I can find the account number somewhere in the body text. And to do this, I'll use the transformation called find pattern. And I'm not sure if you all know this, but find pattern is based on regular expressions, regex expressions. And there is a whole list of these regular expressions that you can use in DataBridge on our knowledge base. I'll just show you the URL to the knowledge base in a few slides. In this case, I'm going to use the body text, the text form, so not the HTML, but the text form of the body. The output field name is called account number. And what I'm going to look for in the body text is account number. It's highlighted in blue here, and the text around it, that's the regular expression. Looks a bit technical, but once you get the how it works and you also have access to the knowledge base about this transformation, then I'm sure that you'll get this to work. So on the preview side, on the right side, this is the body text. This is the field that I selected to get the details from, and this is the result of my find pattern transformation. There's a new column called account number, and this is the value that it got from that regular expression. And it matches the one that I have in my email, as you can see on the right side. By the way, I need this account number to make sure that I can map or link this document that I'm going to save to the right company, of course. So when I save the transformation, it ends up here in on the right side in the list of transformations. And the reason, again, why I'm doing this transformation is because this is the field on the company card that I would like to match, that I would like to find in SuperOffice, so that I know to which company I want to link my invoice document. Well, let's look at something else. Let's use the find pattern transformation again. And now for the amount, let's do it in this example. Let's use the amount to store somewhere on the document, just as an example. So I use the text body again because the amount is in the body. And this is the regular expression right now. I'm looking for the value amount colon, and everything that is behind the amount column text that will be used as a value. And there it is again. So with this regular expression, there's a new column called amount, 5,348 euros. That's the same value as you have in the email here. So this is how we get information from the body text from the email. What I did is the new column amount, I've mapped it to the document text field and the account number, I've mapped it to the company number field. As a summary, these are all the fields that I now have linked to the SuperOffice fields to be able to create this document. It's not a lot, but this is just a simple example. So I have the subject of the document, the date, I have some value in the text of the document, I have the company number to make sure that I get the company that I need to link this document to, and I have the file path. The file path is the how DataBridge can find the actual PDF file in the email. Now let's continue to the destination page. In the destination page, one thing is very important is that we set the duplicate match to number. Again, I have mapped the account number field to the company number field. And this is to find the company. What I will also do is I have enabled the skip if not found option here. So this means that I will not import my document if there's no company found with this number. So if the company doesn't exist in SuperOffice, we don't import the document in SuperOffice. And then we'll switch to the document tab. There's no duplicate match there. We could do it, of course. We could do a duplicate check on invoice number if we would store the invoice number somewhere. But for the sake of this simple example, we just left it out. There's two fields that are mandatory default values. That's the owner of the document. I've set it to my colleague's name, Kevin, here. And I have a document template that I opted for here, and that's called PDF document. The reason why I set this here is because I didn't map these mandatory values in my data mapping, in my field mapping, in the data page. And of course, when we want to store a document in SuperOffice, we need those details. We need to know to which colleague, to which coworker that we need to store the document, and of course we need the type. So in the next step, we'll schedule this integration to run every workday between 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and we do it every hour. So every hour, this email inbox, this dedicated inbox will be checked for new invoices, and they will be processed. Then the next step is a summary. Let's skip this for now. And then when you hit save on this integration, you'll see that there is one job created. If you wait a few seconds, it says working. And then when that is done, this is the end result. So this is SuperOffice. This is the company with the number that I have in my email. So this is the company with the number 20123. And this is the result of our DataBridge job. So there is the subject of the document, which is exactly the same as the subject of the email. There's the PDF document, the document type that I've set in my default values. This is the company where it's linked to. There's our amount that we set in the text. And this is, as you see, the PDF document of the file, the attachment that was saved. That's it. That's it. It's very simple. And I hope that this example was simple enough so that you maybe can repeat the steps later on by yourself. Again, this recording will be uploaded to YouTube. So all the data that you need with the right transformation, that's in essence what we are doing here with the details from the email. What we do is we get all the information from the body using, in this case, we've used a lot of regular expressions. But there's more we can do with transformations. We can combine stuff. We can add text in front of a simple value that we got from the body text. We can suffix anything. We can also do some mapping of values. Like if we would have the email address stated here, van houten@philips.nl, we can map that to the name of a coworker, for instance. So there's all the transformations that are available in DataBridge. You can use them. There's a URL here. This brings you to information about all the transformations that we have available in DataBridge. There's a lot of them, and they're all very useful in certain scenarios. The one that's called find pattern is the one that you will probably use most to get data from the body or the subject from an email. Again, and I think we already saw this in the previous slides. This is a find pattern transformation that will look for the invoice number in the body text. And as you can see here, the invoice number is in the body text behind the tag invoice number colon, and this is the end result. But the invoice number is also available in other places in the email. It's also available, for instance, in the attachment name. And this is also a field that we can use to apply a transformation to. So when I, as a source field, select the attachment file name, I can also get the invoice number. And the regular expression that I chose here is a regular expression that gets the first full number from a text. And when you look at the invoice name, it's AR invoice 00016.pdf. And the full number that is in here, that's the regular expression that does this, is 00016. So that's another way of using a regular expression to get the number. And this is also a URL to our knowledge base, where you find some more detailed information and some examples of regular expressions. Another one is, just as an example again, is to find the email address. The first email address that will be found in the body text is fetched with this regular expression here. And as you see, the email from the account manager, that's the new column that's added here, and it has the exact email address gotten from the body. And there's the URL again. Some other examples of transformations that you can use to make sure that you have the data available that you want to use in the document. Let's assume as an example that we want to use the amount and the account number and the invoice number delimited by a dash. We want to use that string inside the text of the document that we're going to create in SuperOffice. Then this is the outcome. So this is the amount plus the account number plus the invoice number in the document description. Another one is append text. For instance, if we didn't want to have just the amount in the body text, but also some text to go with that, we can use the append text transformation. The column that I will use for dynamic values is the amount column. That's this one. And then the prefix will be total amount colon, and the suffix will be euros, the euro currency here. And this is the end result. So the document text column that's newly added by this transformation will be the value total amount, then the dynamic part of the amount itself, and then euro. So this is how you can use transformations to have all the data ready to be imported in SuperOffice. So getting data from the body or from the subject, that will add a new column to the columns that you already get from the email. And then with the transformations, you can even add more columns with combined data or extracted data, etc. Let's look at a scenario that can also happen where we want to store the entire email as a document in SuperOffice. So not only the invoice, but the entire email. So what we'll do is we'll not create a document with the invoice, the PDF document stored to SuperOffice, but let's save the entire email. And there's only one setting that I need to change here. And that's in the destination page. What I need to do is I will need to enable the feature called import source file. If you do this, it will import not the attachment that I've linked in the field mapping, but it will override that file path setting, the file path mapping that I did in the data page. It will override that and just store the entire email in SuperOffice. So with this setting enabled, if I now run again our new integration, this is what would end up here. So instead of the PDF file that is stored in SuperOffice, it will store the EML file, and the EML file is the email, the entire email. So instead of picking one of the attachments, you can store the entire email, which is very handy if you, for instance, want to store an order confirmation in SuperOffice. The order confirmation can consist of an invoice, but also like terms and conditions and payment terms. If they are, if these are all separate attachments to your email, you'd probably much more would like to store the entire email in SuperOffice instead of the separate attachments. In this case, there are 3 separate attachments. It would make no sense to store those 3 separate attachments in SuperOffice. Then you rather just have the full email. And in that case, again, it will store the entire email as an EML file, and every user can open that in SuperOffice. Now, there are some ways to handle multiple attachments or multiple recipients. For instance, if you have an email with multiple recipients, you can process the email for each recipient. And if you have emails with multiple attachments, you can process the email for each file. There's a choice you have to make, and the choice is made in the source page. The source page has a field called one line for each, and there you can select to the CC field or the attachment field. There's also an option to combine to and CC so that you have all recipients, whether they are to or CC in CC, into one list. One example, for instance, let's say that you are sending out, or one of your platforms is sending out an email that thanks people for signing up, and the sign up was done by one person, but he or she signed up three people in total. So in this case, my colleague Pierre, Remco, and Kevin are signed up to an event. So there are 3 names, 3 email addresses in the email. If I then select the one file for each and set that value to 2, that it will treat all the values in the to field as separate rows. So in this case, you will not see just one row in my preview, but it will show all 3 names and email addresses in this preview. And this means that this email will be processed 3 times in SuperOffice. For instance, if you would like to add these 3 people as a project member by looking at the email address, for instance, and see if there's already a contact person with this email address in SuperOffice, you would like to link them up to a project as a project member, that can be done with this scenario, with these settings. Sorry. So that was within half an hour, I think, how you could use forms and emails to use them, to have them processed by DataBridge and create whatever entity in SuperOffice that you would like to create in SuperOffice. You can create contacts, companies, projects, sales. You can link project members and stakeholders to those sales. You can create appointments, tasks, documents, and even tickets. That can all be done by any scenario that you have with an email in the way that we just showed today. So the source file type email, not attachment, but email, is available in the DataBridge Professional subscription. Using an email with an attachment as a source file, that's available in all subscriptions. But for this new feature, which is called source file email. That's only available in the DataBridge subscription. If you don't have a DataBridge subscription of type professional, then you can contact me for a 30-day trial. This is my email address, marcel.spapens@superoffice.com. And if you just contact me and give me your serial number or the cust ID, the ID that you use, or the ID that's visible in the URL in SuperOffice online, then I'll make sure that for your DataBridge environment, this feature is enabled for 30 days. So I hope that was all clear. Kevin, are there any questions?
Yes, I got a few questions, some great questions.
Kevin, could it be that you are muted? I'm.
Hello?
Oh, yeah, I hear you now.
We got a few great questions. On the details page, you selected the email box, but can the email box also be a SuperOffice service email box?
No. No, because if you use, it must be dedicated for DataBridge. The service email box is already read by service. And to my knowledge, it won't work, because then service will pick things up, and in the meantime, DataBridge will pick things up. And to my knowledge, to my extent, it should not work. It must not work. No.
Gustav also asked, will it support multi-lines rows in the email?
What I think Gustav means with that is that if you have a, let's say, product lines in the email for, let's say, with an order confirmation, it will not process each order line as a separate email or as a separate product. So again, the email is treated as one record. If you compare it to a source file, an Excel sheet, for instance, the details in the email will be compared as one record, or will be treated as one record.
We got another question from Christian. What if the amount is not part of the email body text? Can DataBridge fetch the amount out of the documents?
That's on our wish list. That's a very good question, a very good idea. It's more complex technically than we expected, so it's on our backlog. It's in our backlog. Yeah.
Then Gustav asked another question. When you create the DataBridge job, will it also be able to process the existing emails? The customer might have been receiving form emails for a while before they are asking us to create a smart way to process it. If yes, how long back in time?
Yeah, you can. You can do that. If you still have the emails, of course, you should still have the emails, and you can just forward them or copy them to the inbox, to your dedicated inbox. In that case, you can still handle older emails. The only thing that I'm wondering is that you might need to look at the date, like the invoice date. In our example, the invoice date could be years ago, but if you forward the email to the inbox and you use the date from that email that's received, then the date I think the date will be today. So you need to fetch the date from the date details from the body of the email, I think. But yeah, it's possible. Maybe also good to mention that I think I can show that if I share my screen. I'll share my screen again. So this is my dedicated inbox that's used by DataBridge. And as soon as an email is done and processed by DataBridge, it will be placed in the done folder. And if it failed, it will be placed in the failed folder. So there's always a way to track what emails are processed already. So done and failed, that's what DataBridge automatically creates in the inbox. And this is where the emails are stored that are already processed. And DataBridge will fetch them directly from the inbox itself. Okay?
Yeah. Gustav just added some extra text to the multi-row question. I mean, if you have a field, for example, called food allergies, and they have been written in a long memo text on several rows.
The only way that I see it right now is that you should be able to treat those as interests for company or person, for instance. That would be possible. Yeah.
Then we got a question from Niels. Can we also get the data from the email header? And then I asked about specific headers. You can add custom data in there, like the attachments, like the amount of the invoice.
Yeah, on our wish list also. Yeah, it's a very good one. We looked into it, and there are some boundaries there, but yeah, it's something that we would like to do. The reason why we didn't do it right now is because we want to focus on platforms where you have influence on what the body and the subject shows. And there are less platforms where you can tweak the headers or insert headers in the email. So that's the reason why we didn't do it yet. But very good question from Niels, and good to see Niels here.
Then I got one final question from Gustav. Is it possible to store the emails as an SO mail file?
No, in DataBridge we chose store it as a EML file on purpose. Yeah.
That was a final question that we got. Just got
Okay.
one more.
Oh.
Indication of emails only as start with, or why not a contains?
Good question. It has to do with speed of and certain email boxes are very hard to search by contains in the subject. So it's not only Outlook and Microsoft products that we support, but also IMAP. And with IMAP, for some providers, it's a bit hard to search for contains. Another question came in, I saw. I just asked because the EML, that was Christian. The EML, we had some troubles on Mac. Okay, yeah. I see that, Christian, but you know, also there are some limitation on SO mail too, so that's why we chose EML. Okay, then I think we are through with questions. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining. You'll all receive an email that the video will be ready, I think, in the next hour somewhere. But I'll also download the video and make sure it's on our YouTube channel later on. So thanks again for joining. If you have ideas or you have questions, let me know. Marcel@superoffice.com, and I will try to answer them right away. If you would like to try the EML feature or the email feature for a month, then let me also know. But please include the details for your SuperOffice installation. So either the serial number or the cust ID, and I'll make sure that it's enabled for you. Have a great day. Thanks for joining.